Hey, g'day, Paul from Vocal Pro here. In today's video, we're going to be talking about why learning to sing is harder to learn than any other instrument. Stick around. Okay, well, the first thing is that it really isn't. Every instrument has its own peculiarities, and singing definitely has its own too. But if you look at, say, a piano, we've got to be able to play multiple notes at the same time using both hands. That's a peculiarity. If you're learning, say, a trumpet, you've only got one note at a time, but now you've got to regulate it with your mouth as well as coordinating the airflow through three valves. You know, that's peculiar. Drummers have to be able to coordinate both hands and both feet, which makes it very special too. I love watching drummers, just as a sidebar. So when you're looking at the human voice, there's a few things that makes singing and learning to sing very unique, and to the point where for some people it becomes very mystical. It's like, how how do we get the voice to work? So we're going to break down a few of those things today. So the first thing is, one of the reasons why singing is unique is because we can't see it. Inside our neck, we've got a bunch of stuff moving around. If you type in laryngoscopy into a YouTube search and you just watch cameras down the throat and you watch all the movements that's happening inside the throat, very quickly you would discover that if those movements were outside our body, like articulated fingers, we'd probably be onto it a lot more. We'd be onto it a lot quicker because we'd be physically being able to watch back what was happening, but we can't see it. The second thing is we can't feel it because inside our neck and inside our mouth, there's not really many nerve endings. At the back of the mouth, it's quite dead. Down into the throat is quite dead. And so when we're trying to learn to sing, instead of every other instrument where we're using arguably the most tactile part of our body, we're using the most dead part of our body. And the only time you really feel the back of your mouth is if you've got a cold. You know how much that hurts, right? So now we can't see it and we can't feel it. And then the third thing is we've been doing it our entire lives. So from our early childhood development, we learned to use our voice a certain way. And so we actually have to then, as aspiring singers, relearn how to use something that we've been using our entire lives. Unlike if you pick a guitar up and you've never played guitar before, you can learn, so long as you get a good coach, you can learn right from the get-go how to do it properly and where to put your fingers and how to hold it and how to hold your pick, and you work through the awkwardness of all that. Once you've worked through that, the instrument becomes very efficient because you can see it, you can feel it, and you're learning it from scratch. Another reason why I think singers or singing becomes a little bit difficult for people to learn is the mindset that it's something you can either naturally do or you can't. And I think just from a purely mindset point of view, if we approach it that I'll never be a great singer because only natural singers can do it. Like, I've had this conversation a lot. There's a lot of people that have come up to me when they find out what I do. They'll get into this conversation about, oh, you know, like, I reckon singing is just something you can do or you can't. You know, I don't think it can be taught. Like, singing can't be taught. Like, you've either got it or you haven't. And I'll just be sitting there like this. Oh, yeah. I don't even argue with them anymore. It's just like, well, expert, tell me all about it. Tell me everything that you know about singing. But that mindset of like, you've either got it or you haven't is completely erroneous, and it's not true. If you want to be a great singer, you can actually be a great singer. You really can. But it just takes a little bit of training. Everybody, aside from a small minority of people, can have a great sounding voice. So this notion that it's natural, that you just... You know what? Babies don't wake up in the morning at 2 years old and go, la la la, and suddenly have this big operatic voice. That voice that you hear, I don't teach opera, but that high opera voice comes from years of training. You don't, like, you might have an element of natural ability with that, but the rest of it's been cultured and developed. Everybody knows that. So if it happens in the opera world, consider that it also happens in the pop world too, in the contemporary world. It can be trained. And that leads me into the final thing too, structured training. For every other instrument, it's very obvious that if you want to be a good drummer, you've got to do your rudiments. You've got to learn your double strokes and your single strokes and your paradiddles and your reverse paradiddles and your double paradiddle, single, triple, bypass, whatever. And you'll see a drummer will sit there with two sticks and a practice pad and just go over it and over and over and over, and they'll just do their drills. You'll see guitarists that'll play their pentatonic scale for 2 hours in front of the TV, and they'll just be working their fingers while they're watching a movie or something on Netflix. So it's pretty obvious when you look at any other instrument that you've got to go through the drills. But when it comes to singing, a lot of people have this pervasive thing. I have it here. A lot of students don't practice as much as they should. But the voice needs work. It needs culturing. It needs development. It needs conditioning. It's kind of like, I used to go to the gym. I used to have big arms. Don't anymore. If I go to the gym now, which I never do, but if I was to go to the gym now, I still physically know how to do a bench press and an arm curl, but my muscles can't do it. So it's very important that if you want to be a great singer, you've got to do structured training on a daily basis. And this whole mindset that it's just give me the tips, just give me some little tips, and then you don't go and practice them and you try to apply them 5 minutes a day, it doesn't work. You've got to do a structured regime on a daily basis, because there's two things that's happening with your voice at any one time. The first thing is you're getting the knowledge of how to sing, but the second thing is you've got to exercise the muscles. All right, so I hope that's been of help to you. I hope that's given you some insight into why learning to sing is a little bit peculiar or unique compared to any other instrument. So I hope you got some stuff from this. Go ahead, apply it, leave a comment, like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that stuff, you know. Chat to you soon. I want to read your comments too, by the way. Leave one. See ya.